You are being manipulated right now. The forces that are shaping your desires, your career, your entire life, they're not random. Most people can't even see them, but they are part of an architecture, a hidden architecture of power. And today, we're handing you the blueprint. Seriously, take a second and think about that. That person who takes forever to text you back. The boss who's always just too busy to meet with you. That exclusive brand you know you can't afford. Why is it that their indifference feels like a magnet? Look, this isn't some flaw in your personality. It's a feature of human psychology. A feature that is being expertly exploited against you every single day. You know, the idea that if you're just constantly available, always agreeable, and endlessly nice, you'll get ahead, that might be the single greatest lie you've ever been told. It's basically a program designed to keep you manageable, predictable, and, let's be honest, powerless. Our mission here is to deconstruct that programming by exposing the unspoken rules, the psychological truths that dictate how power actually works. All right, let's get right into it. We're going to start by tearing down the foundational lie, the lie of availability. We're about to break down exactly how your good intentions, your constant presence are actively working against you. And it all comes down to one powerful principle that controls, well, pretty much everything. The entire system, the whole thing, it hinges on this one powerful psychological state, the scarcity mindset. Now, this isn't just about not having enough cash. No. The sources define it as a cognitive framework that kicks in whenever you perceive a lack of any resource. It could be time, attention, social connection, you name it. And that perception, it hijacks your brain. It forces it into a state of constant short-term crisis management. So here's where it gets really interesting. This slide talks about something called the bandwidth tax. What the research shows is that when you're juggling any kind of scarcity, it puts a massive burden on your mental capacity. It literally leaves you with less mind to deal with everything else. Your fluid intelligence, your ability to plan for the future, your executive function, all of it takes a massive hit. You are simply not operating at your best when you feel like you're lacking something. And that mental tax, it leads to this incredibly dangerous state called tunneling. Your brain, because it's under the pressure of scarcity, it narrows its focus completely onto the immediate problem, the thing you feel you don't have. You become hyper-focused on getting that one scarce resource, and in doing that, you become blind to everything else, especially the long-term consequences. And you need to understand this focused, desperate state, it's a weakness that can be weaponized. Okay, so we understand the psychological trap. Now we need to see how it's actually used in the real world. Because this isn't just theory from a textbook. This is a weaponized tool, and it's used everywhere, from the subtle dynamics of human attraction all the way to the cold strategies of the corporate boardroom. And this quote just brilliantly illustrates the principle in action. This comes from extensive research on mating strategies, and it cuts right to the heart of it. Playing hard to get isn't just some childish game. It is a deliberate manipulation of perceived scarcity. The difficulty in attracting someone is interpreted by our most primal instincts as a direct signal of their high value. So why is this so ridiculously effective? Let's just break down the mechanics. First, being unavailable, it signals selectivity. It says, this person has other options. That immediately implies a high market value. Right there, it manufactures a perception of scarcity, which triggers that tunneling effect we just talked about. This then forces the person pursuing you to invest their own scarce resources, their time, their effort, which paradoxically just increases their own commitment. You are, quite literally, engineering desire. Now let's take that same principle and apply it to the professional world. This is where the line between genius and total destruction gets incredibly fine. On one side, you've got laissez-faire leadership. This is a strategic absence, and it's designed to empower a team that's already highly competent. The goal is innovation. But on the other side, you have strategic neglect. The goal here is completely different. It's about avoiding blame. The action isn't empowerment, it's resource starvation. The results? They're polar opposites. One leads to autonomy and growth, the other to deep distrust and irreversible decline. You see, this isn't just a bunch of disconnected tactics. This is a fundamental law of social physics. So let's level up. Let's talk about the universal currency that scarcity and availability actually control: status. In the world we live in now, overflowing with information, the scarcest commodity isn't gold. It's not even time anymore. It is human attention. The attention economy completely reframes the entire game of power. Status in this new world is simply the ability to command the attention of other people while you selectively withhold your own. And this gets communicated in these really subtle but incredibly powerful ways. Researchers call it visual dominance. Watch for this. High-status individuals, they tend to look less while listening. It sends a signal that the speaker has to earn their attention. Low-status individuals do the exact opposite. They look more while listening, signaling that they need validation. The powerful withhold attention. The powerless desperately seek it out. High status creates value through absence. Low status tries to give away value through constant presence. So, what's the crucial point here? It's this. Power isn't something you just have. It's a performance. As the source material puts it so perfectly, authority is not the possession of power. It is the successful management of perception. And the main lever you pull to manage that perception is the strategic control of your own availability. But this tool, it has a razor's edge. And it is absolutely critical that you understand the exact moment when strategic absence decays into something far more destructive: toxic neglect. And let's be crystal clear about this. Based on the research you're seeing, strategic neglect, which is sometimes called vision withholding, is never an accident. It is not a simple failure to communicate. The literature defines it as a deliberate leadership choice, a calculated move designed to diffuse accountability, usually right before some major, often negative change in an organization. Make no mistake, it is intentional. And it follows this predictable three-stage pattern that you absolutely must learn to recognize. First, what they call the rhetorical retreat. All of a sudden, leaders just stop talking about the future with any kind of clarity. Second, resource withdrawal. Budgets, people, support, they're quietly starved from a project or department. And finally, the performance prophecy. The failure that was engineered by the first two steps is then used as the public justification for the neglect. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy of decline. And this slide right here shows the end game. When this pattern is complete, the result is nothing short of catastrophic. It creates a massive leadership vacuum. It shatters what's known as the psychological contract, that unspoken agreement of trust and mutual obligation between people and their organization. And once that is broken, it often leads to a decline from which there is simply no recovery. The tool of power has become a weapon of destruction. So, now you see the code. You understand the architecture. You see the principles of scarcity, attention, and strategic absence that are shaping your world every day. This knowledge, it creates a choice. The question is no longer if you're playing the game. You are. The only question is, will you continue to be a pawn, manipulated by rules you don't even understand, or will you commit to mastering them? If you are ready to see reality as it truly is, your next move is clear. Subscribe and activate all notifications. That is your first commitment. Like this explainer to signal that you understand the stakes. And in the comments, share one place where you now see this architecture at work in your own life. Join the few who are building with the blueprint, not being trapped by it. It's time to understand the unspoken rules.